Welcome, relational leaders and listeners. This is Cultivate, your podcast destination where we celebrate thriving relational leaders and encourage each other along the influence journey. I am Wendy F. your host and strategic guide. In each episode, I will engage with leaders who are sharing authentic stories that support impactful influence. I believe work shouldn't be a four-letter word, but should inspire, challenge, and fulfill. Through a high challenge and high support model, we will explore the recipe for relational leadership that drives meaningful change. You will gain insights from leaders who face the same challenges you may encounter and discover strategies to navigate them with resilience and purpose. Izaba Paras is a dynamic human resources executive with a fierce passion for helping startups build strong, thriving foundations. An immigrant from Afghanistan, Izaba's journey is one of resilience, driven by the inspiring example of her parents' unwavering determination and dedication to their family. Izaba is committed to making a meaningful impact in the workplace, creating resources and opportunities that empower employees to reach their full potential. Specializing in strategic initiatives that drive employee engagement, professional development, and organizational success, Izaba is a trailblazer in breaking the mold of traditional HR practices. With a focus on fostering inclusive, vibrant workplace cultures, she uses her unique background and personal experiences to guide startups through the complexities of HR in today's competitive landscape. Get ready to hear from a leader who doesn't just shape organizations, but transforms them as Izaba shares her insights on relational leadership and how authentic connections can fuel both individual growth and collective success. If you're seeking healthy leadership engagement in an open, empowering, and authentic environment, then you're in the right place. After all, as leaders, we're either driving progress or we're driving the problem. So let's grow together. Well, welcome to another episode of Cultivate, your catalyst for healthy leadership engagement. And today, wow, I have the pleasure to welcome a thriving relational leader who's making a vibrant impact in her sphere of influence. Welcome, Izaba Paras, the head of HR with Global Air Charters, to the Cultivate experience.
Thank you, Wendy. I'm so excited to be here and just share my story, but also help other folks that are facing the same challenges, hopefully find some solutions through my story.
Oh my gosh, we're starting off on such a great foot. I mean, that our time in the green room, our time together before has brought me to a place where it is hard to stay in the chair. And it's about like
Yes.
time doesn't stand still and it moves quickly. And that's what's going to happen with us this afternoon. And so I just want us to not fly by, but to jump in and, share a little bit with the audience. They haven't had a chance to hear a little bit of your background and then how that, what that role at Global Air Charters kind of serves the community in which way.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you. And, just a little bit about me and just kind of why I'm in the space that I'm in is, I immigrated to this country in the early 90s with my family, and I'm one of 9 kids. So big family. But one of the first memories I had about just kind of my experience was just witnessing my father's perseverance and really overcoming, the language and cultural barriers to provide for our family. And it has
Mm,
been, Wendy, a profound inspiration. His efforts truly paved the way for us, and especially me, to integrate and thrive in a new environment, especially when you come from a foreign country to the States. This experience has really fueled my passion for HR, and it's driving me to, create experiences and opportunities to honor my parents' sacrifices, but also enable others to really achieve their full potential.
you know, I love that I didn't even have to ask the question because we are so connected. Everyone knows I'm all about the why, and you jumped right in. This is my why. This is why this is how I come to the table, why I'm doing what I'm doing. And then how that speaks into, yes, the day to day of human resources, which uh, I don't know, the audience, I'm just going to let you know, she's breaking the mold. She's breaking the mold of what that looks like. And so, we talk about leadership and strategy and how important it is to have both of those be very intentional. You've built a reputation as a visionary in as an HR leader, right? Can you share like a moment when you think your strategic thinking really transformed a key challenge that you and your team were faced with?
Oh gosh, that's going to be a lot. But one of the things that come right off the bat, Wendy, is just kind of the environment and space we're in. One of the major hurdles my team is really tackling is low employee morale, and that's going to be,
Mm,
I would say
mhm.
most organizations, especially during a period of not only organizational restructuring, but also I would say like environmental, and that is outside of
Yes,
what happens to work. To
yes.
really spark this change, Wendy, we launched a very comprehensive communication strategy to keep everyone informed and engaged. And that meant we were telling employees what was happening inside the organization, but also outside. And what are those resources they have to help them kind of blend it, because our work doesn't stop in our 9 to 5. It blends into everything we do.
What?
We also introduced wellness programs, Wendy. It's a tough time. I think mental
Mm,
health
mm,
is at the top, and really being able to provide those opportunities to support employees through just what I'm going to call a transitional period from, you know, COVID to where we are now, and kind of going through, just everything. And
yes.
really, when you by fostering that open communication and providing those growth resources, we were really, I mean, slowly, but
Mhm.
we were able to rebuild that trust and morale and being able to lead to a more resilient and motivated workforce. But the challenge again was we didn't have that. So we as a team had to figure out what were the needs of the employees, what were those common denominators, and what is the solution that we can actually provide without overpromising. And that's why we came with that strategy of, internal, external, and also that wellness program that truly helped employees of we belong here, but also the company actually cares for us.
Well, and that's a holistic approach. You were looking at all, right? We talk about the fact that the
Yes.
whole person shows up, and
Hmm.
who you're serving, who's
Right.
being served, with the work that you're doing, which we'll dive into because people are going to want to know, like, how does that play out in that external space?
Right.
What you've shared, and you and I have had some conversation around this, that the human capital is really the cornerstone of an organization's success, right? You've spoken that out, and even in the example that you just gave. So making sure that they're the healthiest as possible, asking the question, and then
Yeah.
sticking around for the answer. So like we're digging into, you've got experience in this space, working with your team to find out this information, to be able to speak to those that you're serving, and the teammates. What's the
Mhm.
hardest part about aligning HR strategy you just talked about with broader business objectives? Because we've got things that we need to do, right? Air Charters has
Mhm.
that mission that they're moving forward on. Like, how do you
Mhm.
ensure that HR isn't just a support function, but that it's actually continuing to be a driving force?
This might be a little bit controversial, Wendy, but
Uh, uh,
I don't mind being a bad guy in someone's story.
Come on.
I'm going to be a villain in someone's life, and I'm okay with that. And in order for HR, and I truly believe it, and it could be from my own personal experiences, I'm not afraid of raising my hand. I'm not of saying I belong here, but also, why are you questioning it?
Mm,
I
mm,
think in HR, we get so used to HR having a seat at the table, but by saying that, that means HR never had a seat at the table. And we have to strip away from saying that,
yes,
because we've
yes.
always had that. And the key thing when it that's really helped transform, I think, my presence, especially in the C-suite level, is I know what I know and I know. And they can't tell me otherwise. And by being able to provide that expertise and knowledge of this is what we can't do and this is what we can do has really, I think, been beneficial with the organization of seeing HR is not just a hire, fire, payroll. We do way beyond that. We
Mm-hmm.
ensure we're kind of the middle ground is you need the resources to ensure you are making revenue, you're rating yourself correctly. But in order to do that, like you said, Wendy, that human capital is at the core foundation. And also, again, how do I ensure that I have the right talent for your team so you can focus on the day to day broader stuff without having to think about bandwidth issues, overtime. And I think that's really been it is I'm okay being a villain in someone's story because someone has to be, right? And I'll do it with a smile too, because at the end of the day, you have to be able to be very strong to sit in a space, especially with when it's male dominated.
Well, and you know what? I love the fact that you're bold in that space, right? And I'm gonna challenge you in, it's not a villain. Like, we have to be a catalyst. And sometimes that iron sharpening iron, yeah, it causes sparks. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, but
Thank
some,
you.
being able to step into that space. And I think that's it. It's like changing our vocabulary so it helps us to change our mindset on why. Why are you raising your hand? Why are you
Mhm.
pushing back? It's keeping the why of the organization and the individuals at the forefront. But
Yes.
yes, you're right. When we have to keep saying, well, we finally have a seat at the table, or it's like it's this new thing.
Yeah.
This is something that should have been embraced. And now that we're here,
Mhm.
what do we do with it? Now that the
Right.
spotlight is on, we do have that. I am so excited about your fine line, right? There's confidence and there's cocky. I love it. You're riding that line. But we need to come to the table with, hey,
Mhm.
I know what I'm bringing. I know what I'm bringing to the table, and I understand what we need. And sometimes to be able to get to that space, we've got to have those tough conversations.
We
Look,
do.
you've mentioned it. You work closely with senior leadership. What's the most crucial piece of advice that you give to executives on how to truly leverage this wonderful human capital so they see it as growth and not, oh gosh, we're just spending money?
Oh, that's a tricky question.
Yeah.
I'm in thinking the first answer that comes, and this is the advice I give most executives. And a good example is executives don't know what the organization's working on because they sit so high up here.
Mm.
A good example, Wendy, on how I ensured that leadership truly understood how that LinkedIn is. I had in a previous organization a CEO who just didn't really understand the reason for enhancing our HRs for onboarding. He just was like, I don't see it as a big cost. And I said, that's okay. And I was like, Mr. So and so, why don't you do the onboarding with our current system? I'm
Yeah.
going to onboard you as a new hire. Go through the experience and you let me know how that makes you feel. It was crucial. I mean, I think he went to like step 3 and was like, I can't do this. It's like, exactly. You don't
Wow.
know what your organization is going through unless you physically,
Mm.
emotionally, mentally go through it yourself. And I always have to ground executives. It's we're so busy, and that's great, right? We're strategizing, we're helping moving the needle forward, but we can't forget the people that are on the train with us. The moment you forget, guess what? The train's going to fall off. And then you're going to look back and you're going to see all these people missing, and you're going to wonder what went wrong. Instead of looking back and saying what went wrong, hold their hands in your organization and push them forward and watch them lead versus leading yourself. And that's the biggest advice I give executives is let them lead. They know your organization way better than you know it. And only then will you be able to thrive and move that needle forward, not only through your organization, but through the lens of your employees who are in the weeds every single day.
What a great advocate you are for both sides. Truly, like we talk about that fine balance and how difficult it is,
Mhm.
and it is.
It
Human
is.
resources is, you're talking C-suite. It's like, why are we doing this? And then you've got the
Yes.
people who are like, we need this. I love that you created an experience. Hey, we're not going to battle this out. And I do want to say kudos to that exec who took you up on it, because some would say,
Yes.
nah, not doing it,
Mhm.
and got to step 3 and said, okay, throwing up the white flag. I hear you. But I think that's it. You created an experience, and I'm sure you have to do that on the other side when teammates are coming, and you've got staff that's saying, "Why do we do it this way?" Okay, well, let's talk about the broader picture and give some view of
Mhm.
that 30,000. It can't just be what's in front of us. It's a both and.
Right.
And I think
Mhm.
that is what is to be celebrated in your space and in your team, because those challenging spaces are there. Look, we
Mhm.
know that there's a big ongoing conversation, and this can really get us into some
Yeah.
trouble, right? Diversity and inclusion. We get those
Yes.
words get thrown around, and they go, I say, we go from one extreme to the other of what that means. And I'm going to make some people, I'm sure, shake their head or their fists. I
Be the
know that
villain,
you're
right?
I know that you're an advocate for diversity and inclusion, right? And it's a topic that every day is coming up. What do you see as being your biggest challenge in cultivating what truly it means to be an inclusive workspace? And what maybe, something that pops out to you that you have to overcome personally, and how you're walking that out with your team?
That definitely strikes the core because, as everyone knows, D&I and authenticity at the core is my bread and butter in my jam. And I think that
I love
just
it.
when these from personal experiences, I'm a woman. I'm Afghan. I'm from Afghanistan. I don't have a college degree. So you throw me into this space where it's male dominated. Colleges are such a hard requirement now,
Hmm.
and really trying to understand where do I fit in, and that's where D&I kind of came in. And I think the misconception about D&I is that we're asking you to hire certain things and put different metrics, but I think it's really about organizations waking up to the importance of creating those diverse and inclusive workplaces that mirror our society. We're not asking you to change it. We're asking you to mirror what we
Ooh.
already are going through. This shift can spark more innovation, effective solutions, because when you are diverse, you're bringing fresh perspectives and ideas, and celebrating D&I, it has a positive impact on organizations, and it's huge. But I think the moment in organizations look at it as we are trying to shift everything, it's no, no, slow down. We're trying to have you be diverse to mirror society. We're not asking you for the moon and the stars, but this is what we live in, and we have to move forward with it, or else it's a tug of war. It's like putting two magnets together. They're
Mm.
never going to stick unless one of them finally says, you know what, I agree, and flips the magnet over.
Oh, what a great analogy, right? And then let's take it a little further. Now, how strong is that magnet? How much
Mm,
stronger are we at that point in time, right? That engagement. You're talking about deepening what is there already, going from this surface space and making it fit to this is who we are and how do we do that? And I love it. You keep bringing it back to authenticity. Let's do it in an authentic way, not just some created definition. And
right.
it's important to you, and you're living it out and bringing that to the space of those that you're leading.
Mhm.
That's what influence is. That is what
It
relational
is.
leadership, and really brings us to the space of how do you engage and breed innovation through the employees that you have, through the teammates that you have. Maximizing employee engagement, that's a theme that you have brought up and we've talked about, and even in this morning, again, trying to stay in the chair because I'm super excited. Can you give us some insight of an example initiative that you helped to lead out, or you brought the conversation to the table that had a transformative effect on, you're talking about employee morale and engagement. How are you starting that conversation? Where is it now? What is that looking like?
Would you mind repeating the question?
Yeah. No, we're talking about transforming, how employees view themselves, and in turn how that's going to change the morale, the engagement that they have when things are coming about and bringing their own innovation. How is your team, how is HR helping to bring that to the surface and beyond?
Great question. And I think first and foremost, I think for my team, it starts with me. First and
Mm,
foremost, it's if I'm not authentic, you can smell fake authenticity almost, you know?
yes, you
You
can.
can see it, you can feel it, and I'm not that. For me, as you know, Wendy, I have a huge emphasis on humans being humans because at the end of the day, that's who we are.
Yep.
Um, the work that we do is the work that we do, but at the end of the day, I'm Izaba and you're Wendy. But how does that show up in your workspace? So for me and my team, I start, every team meeting of like, how are you? Like, no, don't tell me about your work. Don't tell me about what you did over the weekend or like what fun things you did. No, it's like, really, how are you?
Mm,
Do you have anything going on personally that you want to share? Whether that is, mental health. Is there anything in the world that's affecting you, your family, your children? And
mm,
how is that showing up in your workspace? But also, I'm a big advocate of feedback is what can I do to help you? And when I'm helping my team, because we're HR, they feel supported, they feel heard, they feel valued, but also when they feel seen for who they are. That my team is not showing up and, like I myself, I mean, I know I have my blazer on, but, I'm covered in tattoos. So I'll be in meetings with my short sleeves and if you are comfortable in who you are, you make others comfortable. And again, that starts with within. And my team being just who they are, I think it shows in their work. I mean, they all have different communication styles, and I'm okay with it. I'm not asking them to write a one block email that is exactly how HR emails. It's put your own flair to it, put your own fling, because you never know who will be comfortable enough to come to you based on who you are. And in order for that to happen, you have to be yourself. If I'm not being authentic, an employee's not going to trust me to come to me and say, hey, the elections is really coming and it's really affecting my mental health. But if I'm the first one to say, hey, this is affecting my mental health, you open up the space. And I don't mean to go on a tangent, but executives have so much power over that space. And I feel like they fail to realize how to truly utilize it, not only for themselves, for their people, but their organization.
Well, and you keep going to this great space of it starts with the leader. Like we know it, but you're actually speaking it out for yourself. So you're calling yourself up first. And then, hey, execs, we've got to walk this out. We can't ask someone else to do what we're willing to do
Mhm,
ourselves, right? And that
mhm,
is what makes that authenticity really have the power, not just the word, but the power to bring. And it all wraps back around to when we want
mhm,
to talk about our bottom line. That's
yeah,
what's going to make that stick. That's what's really going to
mhm,
have some sustainability behind what we're doing. When
mhm,
people know, wait, human resources and in turn leadership cares about me, they're investing in me and asking those questions, and again sticking around for the answer. The innovation that comes from that, the now I can bring my full self to the table, is
mhm,
game changing. Like we say that
yes,
often, but that really makes so much of a difference. Isaba,
mhm,
you inspire creativity in our short time. Like the way that I'm seeing things, right? Together. I can't imagine what it does for your team. And then as your team speaks out to the employee base, but you take some risk. I mean, even in our conversation today, like you've stepped in it. When that comes in and it brings some uncertainty, what does that conversation look like with you and senior leadership, or your anticipation of what that conversation may look like? How do you step into that time around the table?
when I want to take a risk.
Yes.
Gosh, it could be confidence or cockiness, and we'll see which one it falls under. But I never see anything as a failure, Wendy. It's a
Huh?
learning curve.
Ah.
I didn't know I failed because I've never done this before. So I know that this is what I'm not supposed to do, and I learn from that. And I think with executives, that's what the hardest thing is they don't want to fail. But you're not failing, you're learning. And the moment we
Mm.
change again back to that mindset, it really changes how you show up and how executives see those day to days. They see those initiatives, they see those programs, and they're able to change that. But I think that just really stems from it is executives are so busy. Sorry, now I'm losing my train of thought.
No, you're good.
I
You're
almost had
good.
it, and
You're
it escaped me.
Well, and you said it really well. Like we have to take the opportunity to sit in it, even what we're just doing right now.
Right.
Like, okay,
Mm,
what do we need to do in this space? You're coming to the table with a mindset that says there is no failure. We're going to learn.
mm.
There is
Yeah.
something that is going to come from this, even if it is not the outcome that we necessarily desired,
Right.
right? So bringing that mindset change and saying, not only is it's okay, you're given permission for it. Yeah, this is what we're going to do. That I think is what changes. And again, back to brings that sustainable growth, because we're looking at things from a not here's a weakness, or no,
Yes.
here's a place where we can grow and become better and stronger, because there's
Mhm.
always going to be change.
Always.
You
And I think with this organization, especially when it comes to that risk thing, is oftentimes people feel like you're doing it alone, and I
ah
tell people if you're going to jump, at least jump scared, but at least you're jumping, right? When you're failing, you feel like you're failing by yourself. But again, when it goes back to human capital, if you know you're being taken care of, and you know there's people that are supporting you, I know that when I jump, I'm holding hands with the people that are going to be jumping
mm,
with me. I'm not doing it alone. And that's really how I think I've been showing up with this team with the executives. Hey, if it fails, guess what? I'm feeling with you. You're not failing. I'm feeling with you. We are learning together. And if it doesn't work, I come back and say, hey, this doesn't work, but we're going to try this and this. I'm not giving them the option of we tried this and it didn't work out. We tried this, it didn't work out, but we can try this now. And I think that's really helped executives feel a little bit more comfortable with challenging themselves because uncomfortable conversations show
mm.
changed behaviors.
Wow. Say that again. Say that again. That is it, right? Like at its core, but to say that out loud and to make that be a place of this is how we're going to do things, right? This is the tone that we're going to set, and at multiple levels that people are like really? Okay. It- that speaks to your personal leadership and growth, right? You talked about it starts with you. It's, we're talking about the we over the me. But you've got
Mhm,
to identify and be in that self-awareness space of who's showing up to then
mhm,
influence others, and then we have the exponential. So your role, it's got complex challenges on a daily, dare I say, moment by moment basis. How do you keep your personal resilience intact? How does Izaba do that?
I think it also just goes back to my parents. They've sacrificed so much. I can't imagine leaving your whole entire life, coming to a different country, not knowing the language, the culture. And my dad, I mean, I'm one of nine, so my dad had 9 kids. He came here, I mean, trying to feed them, clothe them. I mean, just seeing that for me, if my dad can do it with 9 kids, I can
Mm.
3. So I'm like, I have nothing. So I think for me, I'm so strong because my dad has done so much. And for me to, show up and be stressed about the normal day to days, I think it just goes back to like, hey, my dad can do this. If my dad can, I can too. Because one thing my dad's been very good at is he's always growing up has always told me, you're strong, you can do this. And it probably is his military background. So I think it's
Mhm.
that that's played a part, but he never doubted me, so I never had to doubt myself growing up.
And there is something to certainly, we can't, the looking back is
Hmm.
not to sit in it and go, "Oh my gosh, look at what I didn't." But really to be able to say, "Look at how far I've come," and from those that we've learned from, right? What a
Hmm.
great way to be able to honor and the legacy that your parents laid in
Hmm.
and infused into you. And now you're paying that forward, not just to your offspring, but to those, because that's what influence, that's what leadership is about. So when you do look back, when you do take that glance back, what is one leadership lesson that you wish that you had learned earlier in your career?
Gosh, one leadership advice that I'm not always going to know everything, and I have to be okay with it.
Ooh,
And I have to trust
ooh.
my team to know what they know. I
Well,
think I've definitely stopped a lot of opportunities when I doubted my own team, but that's I think if somebody told me that, 10 years ago, I think I would have had an easier work experience in a leadership role.
Well, you've rocked my world because, we've heard, okay, great. I have to get to the point where I don't know everything. I'm not in control of all the things. But then you were like, oh, but I got to be okay with it. Not,
Yes.
like I've got to own that and feel
Hmm.
confident still in that space of the unknown, which we know that is a crucial component of relational, true, healthy leadership is that place of humility and saying,
Hmm.
I need help. I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
going to surround myself. And like you said, trust those who are on the team to fill those spaces, right? That
Hmm.
I think that we all just need to really embrace that space of not just recognizing it, but I'm good with that. And this is
Yeah.
why. And then for those who are like, you trust me with that? Like how much does that step up when we ask them to do the next hard thing? Like, well, she trusted me in this space to say. So I love that. I love that. It really just continues to blow my mind.
Yeah,
Um
and it's so great. I mean, I've seen, like my team, like even not just team, just employees. When you trust people, you almost see that spark in their eyes. There's some folks that want that stretch goal, they want that opportunity, but
mm,
they haven't had somebody to say, I trust you to learn in this stretch goal. I'm not asking you to fail, I'm asking you to learn. And I'm not asking you to bring me 100% A plus work. Bring me C plus work and we'll work towards A. I'm not asking for A. And I think the moment I had that understanding, and we all had that same understanding, it was so much easier. I mean, how much more comfortable are you going to an executive saying, hey, I don't really understand this. Can you help me? Knowing that they're there to help you grow in that role versus there to rate your performance in that role.
well, you just flipped the script when you said it was okay to bring C work to the table, right? Because you're saying we're going, it's not that we're saying status quo, hey, it's
Mhm.
okay, we're gonna stay here. No, we know we have goals. We know that we have these things that are gonna stretch us. We can start here and work together to move towards that
Mhm.
space of, oh, we have achieved the goal.
Mhm.
Like there's a rapid pace of change in our global workforce, right? It
Mhm.
really doesn't matter which organization we
Yeah.
serve. What's one HR trend that you or innovation that you think really needs to be adopted by organizations to stay competitive? If you had to pick one over the next 5 years, hey, we need to get on this as HR and bring it to the table for organizations to be relevant and stay relevant. What would you say that is?
I'm gonna have to jump on the bandwagon and say a big opportunity for growth, especially for HRs embracing advanced technologies like artificial intelligence and data analytics. So much of the work HR does is based on having the right tools and resources and also data points to really help us with what our employees needing. These tools, such as AI, can subcharge decision making. They can streamline processes, offer valuable insights to retention, employee behavior, even organizational dynamics. By if HR professionals have the chance to really harness these technologies, it can really help again just drive initiatives, boost efficiency, but also create a more personalized employee experience. I go back to employee experience because it's so key. It's the first kind of view you have of an organization is if you use AI, you're spending so much time being able to connect with an employee versus launching an offer letter, launching, orientation.
Mm.
It's you using AI to have more human connections.
And not relying on it, but utilizing
Yes,
it as the tool.
correct.
I think
Utilize it.
yes, yes, don't let it use you. And I think that that's a space that so many of us are in. And this is
Yeah.
not a time for confession, but I struggle. I struggle in that space, right? I do. And recognizing the tool versus it using or how much we rely on, and we don't want to remove the human factor.
Right.
Isabel, I cannot say enough how much our time together today has really impacted me. I know the audience is going to feel the same. And you know what? I love the fact that you brought so much of yourself to
Thank
this
you.
conversation, right? Bring in the human factor. I don't want to miss that human factor. And for you to be able to give a little shout out for global air charters and maybe like what they're doing. If people want to know more of how you're doing, but where you're doing it, how would you want them to engage in global air charters, how to find, what to know about? Yeah, what would that message look like?
Yeah, no, that's a great thing. Thank you, Wendy, for giving me that opportunity to share that with the organization I'm helping. I was to just reach out to me. Global Air Charters. We are a luxury private aviation organization. We also have Global MX, which is our maintenance side. And honestly, just reach out to us. We're a fun group of folks to work with, and we do some really cool stuff. And you get to meet some really amazing folks.
Well, I think that just engaging with you, people are going to want to know more, even if they don't have their own jet. I mean, I just think that there's just going to be that. Well, I got to check out what's happening with an organization who has a leader who is speaking to so many. It has been such a pleasure to engage, and I know that our journey doesn't stop here. So I look forward to more in the future. Any opportunity that you have to bring more of your insights to the table, we at the Cultivate Experience would just cherish, because at the end of the day we each bring our own special flavor to the mix of what we call
Mm.
relational leadership, high challenge and high support. That's what we're hearing from you. So that's what I want the audience to know about. And so as we close, any parting words from you?
No, but just well, actually, I said yes. I would say, just going back to personal experience is I would tell, the audiences, don't be afraid. Especially for myself, growing up, I mean, there was never, at least in my experience, an Afghan CEO, an Afghan woman in leadership that I could actually look up to,
Mm,
and then kind of trying to find that. I would say, what is it? Crap, I'm losing the word.
like a role model.
Representation. There you go.
Yeah.
Representation. And trying to find representation for myself, I unknowingly became representation. And I had to be okay with that, knowing that I was looking for something that I myself was for others without fully understanding what that was for me. And one of the things that really helped me, and I'd love the audience to know, is you don't have to be representation for everyone. As long as you're representing it for someone, you're already making a difference.
And on that note, I mean, be the change that you want to see. Look,
Yes.
until next time, let's continue to stir things up so that we can be better
Yes.
together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wendy.
Before we sign off today, I want to send out huge appreciation to our listeners for tuning in. I hope you felt seen, heard, and inspired to level up your own leadership journey. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. And if you're ready to level up your leadership, asking for a friend, or interested in being a guest on the show, connect with me at cultivateforgood.com. That's cultivateforgood.com. Remember, as leaders, we're either driving progress or we're driving the problem. So let's grow together.